I am honestly telling my kids that this was my Stranger Things. I know I say this a lot, but I really had no idea what to expect coming into this, and I'm so glad I came into it blind. The plot was incredible, the characters were well written and performed, the storyline was exciting, and it was quite unusual. But we'll get into all of that shortly because there is so much to talk about for only 8 episodes. So without further ado, let's get into it. Disclaimer, as per usual, this review will contain mild spoilers but will always be disclosed beforehand so you can skip ahead. These are all my subjective opinions about the show, so please be respectful if you disagree, and I'd love to hear any thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content and want to see more from me every week. Before we get into the episode though, this is just a little note from me. It's less of an apology, more of an explanation. I know that I said I was going to do a double upload last week, but I ended up being very busy. I had some quite personal things happen, some very personal news, so my week was a little bit crazier than I expected. I did that post on Tuesday and that was already like, I was wondering whether I'd be able to post it, but I managed to, and the rest of the week it was just genuinely insane. I think this is the first time that I've been able to stop for a while. Like, obviously I've had this written for a while and I watched the show a while ago, but the actual uploading and the editing process I haven't had time to do, and the recording I haven't had time to do, so I'm so sorry that this is a bit late. No, I'm not sorry, because I don't need to apologize for it, but I am a bit sorry. That's all I wanted to say before we get into this episode. The WONDERfools opens in late 1999, where the town is raving about the apocalypse. Y2K basically, but also not quite. And a religious group, well, they're actually more like a cult, are pushing people to come to their church to receive salvation before the apocalypse. I genuinely thought episode 1 that this wouldn't at all be important and was mainly there to show how Chae-ni sticks out like a sore thumb in the village, but little did I know that that would be the entire plot of the show. The drama itself follows village crazy girl, affectionately named Trainwreck by the townspeople, Eun Chae-ni, who we find out has heart problems and is probably gonna die pretty soon. That may sound really blunt from me, but she is just as, if not even more blunt about it in the show, so it feels fitting to say it in that way. We're also introduced to 2 of the other town crazies, Son Kyung-hoon and Kang Ro-bin, one of whom is her best friend and the other is, well, they have a pretty love-hate friendship. It's primarily a comedy and follows these 3 as they navigate life with their apparent new superpowers alongside their mentor, Un-jeong, who has always had telekinetic powers. When his nose bled for the first time, I was low-key just getting flashbacks to 11. Maybe I'm just out of the loop, but I didn't know that nosebleeds were canonically a side effect of telekinesis. That being said, it's very, very tense at points too, and doesn't shy away from exploring a very gritty topic and showing it in all its details. The main plot, other than the 4 fools, being how children with powers were once experimented on and forced into an extremely traumatic life, one that Un-jeong himself had to endure. I'm pretty sure that isn't a spoiler, it's like a main part of his character. I think it's released in like episode 2, so I'm sorry if it is. It flipped seamlessly between the 2, so much so that it didn't feel insensitive when there would be moments of comedy again right after very dramatic scenes. But it can't be a great plot without great characters. I genuinely just cringed at that segue. And there's a lot of them, so let's get into the characters and their roles in this story. Chae-ni reminds me so much of one of my friends, it's actually crazy. As I was watching, it was kind of like I was watching her as if she had superpowers, and I kind of loved it. But that's just me because I can guarantee that none of you are friends with her too. I digress. I absolutely loved her character. I thought she was so funny, so powerful, and just so entertaining. There was not a single moment that I was bored when she was on screen. My attention was fully captured, and she actually did get quite a few audible laughs out of me too. I'm currently watching Spooky in Love with the same actress, and I genuinely did not know that they were the same person at first. Like, girl has got range. I know I have a very limited exposure to her as an actress, having only watched her in 2 things, but being able to play 2 very different roles that easily, especially in the same year, is very impressive. I actually opened Netflix while I was writing this essay to find some, like, background noise, and by pure coincidence, saw this. Like, just from this alone, you can see her range. I will say, I thought her character was going to be really cliche, and it was a little bit, I suppose, but it definitely wasn't as cliche as it could have been. Like, spoiler alert, I was positive that she was the actual Child of Eternity, and that was going to be like the twist, that she was actually the chosen one all along.
But I am the chosen one.
which is so cliche, but I like the direction that they did take it in, and it actually made more sense, to be honest, and gave way to the rest of the plot. One thing I don't understand though is who that old man was and why he needed the heart. Again, I could have missed something, but I was very intently watching this one, so that confused me. I also love seeing a female lead who isn't exactly regular, and I use that term very loosely. And I know that's also because it's not your typical, what people think of as a K-drama. Those people need to get out of their little boxes. But even so, her character was very well-rounded and a good amount of weird, also proving that you don't have to be someone else or try to be perfect for people to love you. A common concept, I fear, but some people need reminding of that. I just loved her character and may have cried as a result of the attachment I made towards her, but apart from the little spoiler I mentioned, I couldn't really fault her character. I thought that she was brilliantly played to a T. Now, I am hesitant to approach this character because of how I feel like certain fans will respond, but screw it, I'm gonna share my opinion anyway. Chae-ni was first a K-pop idol to me and then an actor, which I feel like is a lot of people's experience and therefore made me quite skeptical when he broke into the acting scene. I know that he technically started acting in 2014, but in my mind, his first role was My Idea's Gangnam Beauty in 2018, because it kind of was. It was his first lead role. I was never particularly under the impression that he was a great actor after seeing him in a couple of dramas as the male lead, and he was very quickly typecast as this unemotional, fixed, boring male lead to the point where I kind of thought, maybe he's just playing the only thing that he knows how to do. I know that's harsh, but I know there'll be people that understand where I'm coming from and also agree. Therefore, coming into watching this, I already had preconceived notions about what his character would be like, which was definitely a fault on my part. I'll say right off the bat, his character wasn't my favourite and he definitely was thrown amongst 3 really great actors, but I saw so much more of him as an actor through this character, and I'm really grateful for the fact that this role gave him that space to start branching out and exploring his talents. There were some incredibly deep and emotional scenes that he delivered such good performances in, which definitely got me emotional too, and I thought he created a great relationship between Un-jeong and Chae-ni. I can only hope that he just gets more roles like this to give him that space to start exploring different sides of acting in. As for Un-jeong himself, he was fun. A cute little character who gets tossed around by his new friends. He definitely seemed like an outsider and also seen as a bit of a weirdo by the town, understandable by his backstory, which is revealed to us quite quickly. But I don't know, I kind of wish we'd gotten more from him. I kind of felt partially unsatisfied with his character, mainly because I could never fully figure him out. Let me know if you thought the same or if you were happy with his character, because I'd love to know.
Oh my god! Oh my god! My Shayla! My Shayla!
Quite possibly my favourite character. He was so funny. I genuinely cackled every time he was on screen. Even the serious moments weren't quite serious with him, and I kind of liked that. I keep thinking about when he's, I suppose, sacrificing when he's sacrificing himself for the group and telling them, go, as if Un-jeong couldn't just drag him out. Genuinely had me crying laughing. I keep thinking about it and just giggling. Could not have asked for a better character to be given super strength. Like, he was the perfect candidate. The sweet, clumsy, unthreatening village idiot, lovingly, of course. I don't know much about the actor, but I absolutely loved his performance in this, so I assume he either gets roles like this a lot and has been able to perfect it, or is just a bit silly in real life. And it could be neither. I'm just playing Sherlock for the day. However, whilst I really liked his character, I feel like we got quite minimal information about him, which I would have liked a bit more. And I can't be the only one that thought he was much older than Chae-ni and was surprised when it was revealed they were actually school friends. Genuinely wish the best for this man. He low-key went through so much in this show. I've watched Choi Dae-hoon in quite a lot and he usually plays characters that I absolutely despise, but in this one I finally got to see him playing a good character that I really liked. I thought he brought a lot of humanity and life to this character and played it really well. I knew that he was a good actor before watching this, but I liked seeing him in a role that was like actually really nice, and it was nice to see that other side of him and not that he's just being typecast as these like villains all the time. There was definitely a lot more depth to his character than the other 3, I think, and we got to actually see that rather than having to infer it and guess just based off of what we can see. His life is quite different from that of the other three, as he's married and has a daughter who's middle school aged, I believe. You can tell that he's definitely not got the best relationship with her and is going through a rough patch with his wife, and whilst this is comedified, yes, I'm making up words now, I think, sue me, I can't think of the word that I want. Due to the nature of the show, it's quite heartbreaking and made me feel a lot more sympathetic towards his character. His power was also so funny. I think it definitely created the most comedy. I couldn't actually figure out how he ended up being able to activate it. Was it that whenever he lied, he stuck to something? That was the only thing that made sense to me. I swear you'd think I didn't even watch the show with the amount of questions I have about basic things after finishing, but I promise you I did. I'm gonna band these three together because whilst they were quite central characters, they weren't the main four. Regardless though, they brought so much to the story and I left it feeling more sorry for them than angry. They all delivered incredible performances as their characters and were very stark contrasts to the main four. I'm gonna give a spoiler warning now because I think the most interesting things about them are probably spoilers. Judan was the most interesting case to me and definitely expressed signs of Stockholm Syndrome, understandable considering she'd been trapped, taken and experimented on as a young girl, and the only male figure she had in her life was the man leading the experiments. He was their father, and some believed that more than others. It made me feel so sad for her because she was definitely not the villain in this story. None of them were. They'd just been conditioned to act a certain way and use their powers in a certain way too. They all believed that if they were going to stay with their father, that they would be saved. At least that's what he told them, which does not happen at all. Speaking of, and I know I mentioned this earlier, but that old man comes in again here. Like, he was apparently the reason that they could all be saved. I'm honestly sorry if I missed something, but I could not understand it, and it seemed like the characters didn't seem to understand it either. Was he a scientist too? Was he, like, the one that would be able to save them? Please somebody let me know who that old man was. Like, genuinely, I need to know. The other two, Palo and Horan, both had business with Un-jeong, the former wanting some sort of revenge and the latter seeking love. They all grew up around another very closely, so it makes sense that they all formed these emotional bonds from early ages, and due to the traumatic situations that they were in, those emotions they felt towards one another were probably very heightened. I honestly just felt sorry for all of them, and the fact that they all met awful ends too was really heartbreaking to me. It makes you wonder whether, if they'd truly been able to escape and see the situation for what it truly had been like Un-jeong, their lives may have been a lot better. I don't know if anybody has watched Manifest. It's on Netflix. It's about like a plane that disappears and then they come back and they all have superpowers. But this show genuinely reminded me of that quite a lot and proved that we collectively have decided that if anybody ever had superpowers in real life, the first thing that would happen is they'd be experimented on, shunned from society, etc. The actual story was quite heartbreaking when you get to the bare bones of it, and whilst it is a comedy and a very successful one, it's got a lot of heart to it as well. It's discovered that the Church of Eternal Salvation, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, are basically poisoning the town, I think as revenge for what happened to them all those years ago. Again, the plot wasn't super clear to me with this. And their experiments on defects are causing issues in the town, such as with the man who turns into a fish man, which is how the show opens. Again, this shocked me purely because I had no idea what to expect, so it was kind of a moment of like, oh, this show might not be what I thought it was. I also came in thinking that they would already have powers and that they were like a group of foolish superheroes, which I know is literally the plot of the show, but I thought they were already superheroes and didn't become them. The storyline really gripped me though. Despite the small plot holes, it was exciting and tense and didn't give you everything to start, but left you wondering without dragging it on for too long. I honestly think that 8 episodes was perfect. It was the perfect sweet spot. Any more and it may have been dragging, any less and it wouldn't have been as satisfying. This show really feels like it was made for a wide range of people, as there's something that everyone will like, to be honest. Action, comedy, thriller, romance, you name it, The WONDERfools probably does it. I am crossing my fingers for a season 2 and maybe more seasons to come, because I know they'll be able to produce some great storylines. So let me know what you thought of The WONDERfools. It is so worth the watch and definitely lives up to the hype surrounding it. For me, it felt like a nice break between watching lots of romantic dramas, which I love, of course, but its concept is so refreshing and different that it was nice to get lost in that world for a little bit. Comment your thoughts down below. I love reading everyone's opinions on the dramas that I post about. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. I post every Tuesday on a newly released drama, and I do a flashback Friday once a month on a drama from at least over a year ago, so comment any suggestions of ones you'd like to see down below. Also head over to my Substack where you'll find a community of K-drama lovers and extra little content from me throughout the week. The link is on my profile. But that's it from me for today. Until next time, my drama princes and princesses, stay dramatic. Mwah.